All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. You can probably see by the title of this video, finally a trade signal. It's been pretty dry. It has been pretty dry here for the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks. When it comes to trade signals, and we've seen the chop that has happened and everything else. But if I come over here to it, Valero was our last signal on July 30th. So this is the first signal of August, and it's a Microsoft bullish signal. I talked about it this morning, the 3-7 crossover happening here with the stock, and we can see the 3-7 action coming in. It's above the 50 on the Stochk 39.1, which doesn't matter for the algorithm, but is a good visual way to kind of see if it's going to qualify or not. So I'm going to run with some Microsoft here. Now the options on Microsoft are not fantastic. In terms of a delta, in terms of the gain we're going to get per move in the stock or dollar move in the stock, it's pretty low. And there's an elevated implied volatility out in the market right now. And if we see Microsoft lose some of its implied volatility, we do have about 7 to 8% risk on this option due to implied volatility. That's just a risk we can't get around right now. It's just a reality of the situation. So gonna go run with it here. Looking at the 20th of September calls, and I'm gonna do 6 of these. So it's gonna put 3,600 here into it. Let's see if they'll give it to me at 605, and probably not. They'll probably be stingy on these. I'll give it a second. Not too big of a rush here. I did consider the 140s, but Microsoft, it has a dividend tomorrow. It's only 40 some odd cents, so it's pretty small, and it's not going to matter when it comes down to it. But it will go ex dividend here tomorrow. And let's see, they're not going to fill it, so let's just do a market order, and I'm filled in at 610. Filled in here at 610 on the 20th of September, 135 calls for Microsoft on 6 contracts, so about $3,600 into the trade here. Okay. They were going for $6 right before I got on video, so I paid up a little bit, but hey. Again, we're not looking to optimize by the penny, the option entry and exit. But let's see here. Let's get our sheet filled out. Microsoft, and see if I can remember how to do this. It feels like a long time. All right, here we go. So 8:13 here today, PM session, right? And we got the 20th of September, right, on Microsoft here. Just making sure the alert went out real quick. All right, so this 20th of September, 135 calls, and we got an entry price of 610 here on 6 contracts. Stock entry price here is 138.43. All right, 138.43. The ATR on Microsoft, the average true range, you can see it's elevated right now. So that's going to affect the trade here a little bit. But 294, okay, 294 here. So that's going to put our stock exit level at 135.49 and our profit level at 144.31. And the current stock price, and again, this isn't current, but it does have that 20-minute Google delay there. So our exit, our red exit, if it's not performing, is the 16th, so Friday here, PM, and our green exit would be the what's next Tuesday? Next Tuesday is going to be the 20th, so 8/20. Would be the green exit should we not hit our price target, and 610 is the trade price. And so we are in. Okay. You'll notice I put a little bit less cash than what we did for Honeywell and Valero. The loss there with Target, Honeywell lowers us down a little, so I do have that just slightly lower here for Microsoft. Whoops, open. But it's keeping in line with the percentages we've run this challenge. And again, we have not run the highest percentages here. We have, well, at least I have for the challenge. I've been under this trade allocation of 40%, 30% here, just slightly. Not too much, but we're what, about 28% on this trade, somewhere around that level. But anyway, we'll continue to run that way through the end of this challenge. Okay. All right. So into Microsoft and running with that trade. And feels nice to be back in. I thought we might get a few other signals. I thought Honeywell had a shot. It does have a 3-7 crossover here on it, but consolidation risk on it is too high. I thought UPS had a shot, but same thing. High side on the consolidation risk. Apple would be a signal, but it's just moved too much. It's moved more than 2 average true ranges in the last 48 hours, 24 in this case. So it's just moved too far too fast to create a signal there for the challenge. I think I kind of like the setup. Adobe here, this is one that just barely is missing the 3-7 crossover, or it would likely be a signal, but there are a lot of Adobe-like charts out there, and where we could see them signal tomorrow pretty easily on a continued rally. But anyway, those are some of the stocks with the crossovers. Some that had crossovers this morning aren't holding. The FedExes of the world, had a nice little crossover, this morning, but isn't there. As it sits, we have, in fact, if we go and just look at the pure crossovers, and again, just because they cross over, it doesn't mean it's a signal. But, you can say, well, this list has actually grown since the last time I ran it. But looks like Facebook is on the list. This one was not on the challenge list here. It must have just upticked a little bit here to get the 3-7 cross. Yeah, it did. Because when at 12:30, 5 minutes ago, when ran the scan, it wasn't on there. So that could be one, early tomorrow. Nike, I thought had a chance, but consolidation risk is, too high on this one as it sits via the algorithm. But you can see a lot of crossovers here today. A lot of crossovers. But as they said, Microsoft is the only one with a trigger on it right here. As far as the downside goes, let's go take a look, because let's face it, the downside risk in the market is not gone, right? We could see things, turn fairly quickly. We're not seeing a market vibe change today, but the only downside 3-7 crossover is Raytheon, and that's not, even on the challenge watch list anymore. So anyway, not a whole lot there to react to. When we look at the overall picture for the market, bullish percent index barely changed. And in fact, the market metrics relative to what they were this morning when we looked at them, they're identical. They have not changed or shifted throughout the day. We've seen the banks give up some of their gains, right? But, we weren't talking about monster gains for the banks, anyway. But most of them are off their highs, but, just kind of similar to the rest of things, right? It's not, not anything too dynamically different for those. I'm very interested to see, how things like Rio and BHP react, here tonight in the global markets on the London Exchange. Just very interested to see if there's any kind of follow through to some of these materials. I do think there could be a hard, fast snapback in this group, because this is the group that is more heavily shorted out there. but you see the Caterpillars of the world. They made a nice little stretch, but definitely pulling back off their highs. Which let's face it, pulling off of its highs today, that's not a bearish thing, right? I mean, you take a look right here, pulled off its highs. Oh, okay, next day took off. Right here, pulled off its highs. Next day took off. Pulling off its highs is oftentimes, read by many as, oh man, okay, that's bad news. It got sold off into the close. You'll see a lot of uptrends and a lot of upticks where the stocks sell off into the close. They do not close on their highs, and it's very common to see here. So anyway, that's where some things sit, and there's still plenty of potential to trigger out there. And one of the things about today's action is that there's actual potential for downside signals to come in, which is also nice to see. So a lot more signal potential setting up with the way the market has moved here yesterday and today. We got one signal finally, so running here with Microsoft, and we'll run with that just with the simple challenge parameters here. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Take care.